Hello everyone and welcome to part 6 of my car tier list video. Now, basically how this works is you send me the cars and I put them in there. So the cars that are in this video are taken from the comments in the last video and so on and so forth. Add as many cars as you like, as many comments as you like, and yeah, I hope you enjoy. Also if any of the information that I give you is wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments. I'll be happy to improve my vast vault of knowledge. Now, the first car we start with is the 2013 Lamborghini Veneno. Now, in 2013, it's quite funny. It was voted the ugliest car in the world when things like the Ford Ka and the Nissan Juke existed, but yeah, other than that. Now, this is a car I actually really like. I don't think it's a pretty car, but I like how aggressive it is, like how pointy and sharp and yeah. Do I prefer it over the Aventador? Yes, actually. I actually prefer it all up over the GMA T50. Might be slightly controversial, but I don't know, I like it. I think it might be a bit too much, but at the moment, I'm liking it. Oh yeah, that reminds me, I forgot to do my start of tier list alterations that I always end up doing, because I'm sure there's going to be something. Yeah, I want to move the McLaren W1 down. And the Countach up. Because yes, I always end up doing this. I just can't stay focused on an opinion for too long. I always end up changing. Don't think there's anything else I want to change so far though. I want to move the van down a bit below the Skoda because I like estate cars and I don't know, especially new estate cars because more and more people are buying these unpleasant SUVs instead of proper estate cars and that's a bit of a shame, really. Alas, it is what it is. Next car, 981 generation, I think, Porsche Cayman S. I know it's at least the 2013 one. So, where do I put it though? This is... No, my favourite Cayman is the GT4 RS, but I like this one. Certainly not a bad car, certainly not a dream car. I'm going to put it in cool, above the Resvani and below this Volvo P172, I think it is. Shelby Series 1. Now this, I wish more people would talk about it, but then I also don't because the prices would go up. This is like Carroll Shelby's fully in-house muscle car, sports car, supercar, roadster thing. And from what I can see, it's like his ultimate vision of what a car can be, and I like that. And I just think it's a good-looking machine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in Sub-Zero. I'm going to put it ahead of the W1. I don't know. I'm just not the biggest fan of the W1 at the moment. I don't know. It sort of looks a bit like a 750S that's been like cyberpunkified. Which I prefer it to the 750S, but I certainly don't prefer it to a lot of these other cars. I don't know. I'm sure it'll be an extremely impressive machine when it comes out. I also want to put the Valkyrie ahead of the P1. But yeah, at the moment, not the biggest fan of it, relative to a lot of the other McLaren hypercars. Next car, Aston Martin V12 Vantage. Now this, I love an Aston. This is one of my favourites as well. I just like 2000s, 90s and 2010s cars. But this is one of my favourites. I prefer some like DBS and the 177, but this, I absolutely love it. And I think I'm going to put it above the McLaren 750 and below the Viper. Because, I mean, when the V8 Vantage was out, the V8 Vantage was an incredible car, but it was just missing a bit of power. Which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with a less than powerful sports car, but I don't know, it just needed that. And the V12 Vantage basically solved that problem. It was a near perfect car. But, I don't know, I prefer these cars, even though a lot of them are certainly not perfect. Next car, the 2015 Ford Mustang GT. Now, this is probably my favourite generation of Mustang when considering the base model. I prefer the previous generation. Generations like Shelby GT350s and the like. But as far as base model Mustang GTs go, well, I suppose there's EcoBoost as a base model, but it's an EcoBoost. This is arguably my favourite one. I actually think it looks quite good in silver. I usually have a distaste for silver cars. I prefer brighter colours. But this I like. It's only the base model though, so I'm going to put it in cool. Hang on. There we go. Below the 69 Charger, but above the Camaro. I'm going to move the carbon motors down a little bit as well. Next car, the 2024 Shelby Super. The comment didn't specify which Super Snake, so I've just gone with the 2024 one because it's my favourite. Now this, I mean, I like the new 2024 Mustang, but I don't know. Cars usually need to take time to grow on me. This Super Snake, though, I absolutely adore it. It's potentially, and probably my top 3 favourite Mustangs. And I'm going to put it in Sub-Zero. You know, I'm actually going to put it just below the C6 Corvette. And the C6 Corvette is my favourite generation of Corvettes, so, yeah. That's high praise for it, I think. I'm going to move the Jensen and the Spano below the M5. I just can't help but change these things. If you're looking for a tier list that stays consistent, maybe not the best place to go. Alfa Romeo 4C. Oh, this car, such a missed opportunity. Absolutely drop-dead gorgeous car. But it just had so many little problems. It was a joy to drive as well, according to nearly everyone who reviewed it. But it was also expensive. It's just... I can't help but like it though. It's just gorgeous. And I actually want to put it above the Bugatti Tourbillon. Again, this is probably the most prime example of new cars need to grow on me because it's a Bugatti. It's got a V16 that sounds incredible. But I've put an Alfa 4C above it. It just... This happens. The cars need time to grow on me. I almost never like a new car completely from the start. I mean, when's there been an example of this? I mean, hell, even the 918 had to take time to grow on me. Actually, the only one that I can think of that's been like this is the Lexus LC500. I've loved that from the start. Everything else has really had to grow on me a bit. Yeah, I think the LC500 is the outlier in that little comparison. Toyota Supra. Comment didn't specify which one, but as I suspect, as you wanted me to put it in Burnett, I suspect you mean the A80 one because it's overrated, which it certainly is. However, I do like it. I'm ignoring the fact that it's overrated and all the kids think it's got 1,000 horsepower, which it most certainly does not. I think it's got like 300. It's a pretty good car in its own right. I think it's not the best looking thing in the world, but it's certainly not ugly. I'm going to put it in cool. Below the Lagonda. I'm moving this. This carbon motors is tumbling at the moment. But yeah, I'm going to put it above the SD1, but below the Lagonda. Yeah, I think that's fair. Next, Lamborghini Aventador Ultima. Definitely my favourite version of the Aventador. So obviously that means it's going to go above this. And above the Veneno. I'm going to put it above the Veneno, but below the Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG, because it's got gullwing doors. I am a bit of a Mercedes fan. Not to say I'm biased towards them, because I will rip and tear into them for their bad decisions. For example, putting a 4-cylinder hybrid in the C63. What were they thinking? Among other things. And all these brilliant concept cars they end up not making. Usually AMG ones, like... Best one is this C112. I love that thing. This next car, I talked about this in a different video, the Seat Cupra, so I won't go too in-depth into it. The Seat Cupra GT. It's a concept car, base it, and then people clamoured for them to make it into an actual car, so they made some to compete in GT racing, and I like it. I actually quite like Seats. I mean, they are mostly European brand, but I don't know, I think for normal cars they look really quite sharp, and I mean certainly the Cupra GT is not a normal car, but funnily enough I think this isn't one of their better looking designs. I still like the story behind it though, and as a result, I'm going to put it... That's a bit high though. I'm going to put it above the C7 Corvette, but below this Caterham Final Edition. Yep, I'm happy with that position. Next car, Mark II Ford Focus RS. I said the GI RS was one of the greatest hot hatchbacks of all time, but there are certain ones that I prefer, and the Mark II Focus RS is one of them. Certainly, I mean, it's sort of the generation of Focus I grew up with, so in Britain you just saw Ford Focuses everywhere, so I don't know. And I just like them more as a result. It's weird. I said I like the more rare and obscure cars, but then, again, the cars I grew up with, I do tend to have an affinity towards as well. Focus RS, I mean, you don't really see many of these still, but I like them. You know what's funny? In my head, I always think this is four-wheel drive, but it's not. It's front-wheel drive. The Mark III is four-wheel drive, but I don't know. Just the way it looks, I always thought in my head that, right, it's four-wheel drive. But it's not. It's front-wheel drive. I don't know. Can't get it out of my head. I'm going to put it just above the GI RS. I'm going to put it above the Camaro as well. I know that's a bit of a weird decision I mean, I'm in the UK, so I do prefer hot hatches to a lot of American muscle cars. I know that's a bit weird, but hey, I mean, the Camaro's never been my favourite anyway. I usually prefer the Mustang. I usually prefer the Camaro to the Charger and Challenger, except the 2013 one, but I don't know, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here. Next car, Ford GT40. Didn't specify which GT40, so I've just gone with this lovely Golf liveried Mark 1, I think it is. And, I mean, it's a Ford GT40. It's one of the most legendary cars of all time. And this one is in a Golf livery, so... And that just equals cool. I'm going to put the GT40 above the Carrera GT and below the Murcielago, because it's not my favourite car, but, I mean, the heritage behind it just makes it so incredible. No, I worded that wrong. It wouldn't be my favourite car without all the heritage and history behind it, but then again, I just like how raucous and rough it is. I mean, it's an old racing car, what do you expect? It's just a brilliant looking car as well. Maybe I'm underrating it a bit. That I am. Up above the Hennessy you go for GT40. There you go, now it's very high up. This will not be high up. Peel Trident, which is actually, believe it or not, a sports model in Peel's lineup. Technically a terrible car in almost every metric, but I'm kind of fascinated by it and the idea behind it. Still doesn't mean I'm putting it any higher than not great. It's actually a similar story to the Model T, because I mean, the Model T is a revolutionary car, but I don't like it, and it is genuinely an awful car. But these two, I'm kind of fascinated by them. I think you can still buy Peel P50s and Tridents new. I think you can. I think they're only electric now, but I don't know. You can get them from new if you're not my size. I'm like 6'8", I think. But so me fitting in one would be like fitting a shark in a goldfish bowl. Now I've imagined that in my head now. Lamborghini Huracan Technica. The comment just said my favourite Huracan, so yes, this one, the Technica. I just think it's the best looking, and it's the final version of the Huracan, basic. Actually, did the production version of the Sterato come later? It might have. But this is like the ultimate Huracan, so the most finely honed one they used. I mean, for what I've said in reviews, it seems to be like all the good bits of the STO, but with the refinement, well, relative, of the normal Huracan. And for that, I've got to hand it to it. I'm going to honestly put it just below this Gallardo, because, I mean, I still find myself referring the Gallardo to the Huracan, but this is the ultimate Huracan. This isn't the ultimate Gallardo. My favourite one is actually, the Technica, but this is a Superleggera. But I think I still prefer the Superleggera to the Huracan Technica. Forgot its name for a minute there. This is a Pagani Zonda R, and it's going immediately straight up here. I said like the SLRs are my second favourite, and the LC500 is my third favourite. But like these two, I mean, the Chinquay is basically the road-going version of the R, and I've just got nothing but praise to say for the R, aside from the fact that it's too expensive for me, And and if I drove one, I'd probably spin off and have a hideous and expensive accident. But it sounds brilliant, looks gorgeous, goes like the clappers. Light, from all reports, engaging to. When I say engaging to drive, it's not like I've driven one myself, because when am I ever going to get my hands on a Zonda R or an SLS or an Enzo? But yes, and just so gorgeous. I think I might have mentioned that earlier. But yes, love the Zonda R. Not quite as much as the Chinquay though, which is Chinquay Roadster, which is my dream car. What's next? Lamborghini Revuelto. Don't prefer this to the Aventador. I like it, but again, it's like these brand new cars, they take time to grow on me. And I know that's a bit of a daft reasoning for a lot of these, but it's just the case. I'm going to put it above the Countach though. The hybrid I don't mind, because it's still mostly V12, and it still sounds pretty great. But certainly don't prefer it to the Aventador or the Murcielago. Next car, Ferrari SF90 Stradale. I actually mostly prefer Lamborghinis to Ferraris, which there is a lot of Lamborghinis in this tier list, I'm now realising. Anyway, but the SF90, I mean, it's been out for a while, but again, it's a very impressive car. It's basically a full production Ferrari with, I think, nearly 1,000 horsepower, which is pretty incredible. Like, looking back at the 458 and things, I actually prefer the 458 to the NatAsp V8 it has. But this is certainly a good car. I'm just going up here. But I can't find myself liking the V6 hybrid. I don't know. It's not that I prefer. Well, I mean, I do generally prefer V8s and things. But I don't know. There's just something about it. This is one I genuinely can't explain. I mean, I better put it above the Scintilla. But this is one I genuinely can't explain why I'm not the. I was going to say, I mean, I don't dislike it, but that's funny. It's funny there's a 4C about that many spots above it. This Jaguar XJ220. This is another car that was such a missed opportunity. It got a V6 from a rally car, admittedly. It was supposed to have a V12. It's rear-wheel drive. Was supposed to have four-wheel drive. It was supposed to have scissor doors. Has normal doors, and has the brake lights from a horrible, I believe, MG Metro. No, it's not Metro. I think it's like got the brake lights from a Rover or something. Despite all this, I can't help but adore this car. Because it has mystery behind it, fastest car in the world for a time, until the F1 came along and stole its thunder. Actually, I think the EB110 might have beaten it. Yeah, I think it was the EB110 that took its crown. Might be wrong on that though. I just love it. I like the way it looks. I especially love those. No, they're not AMG monoblocks, but they sort of remind me of those, and they just look really good. And I tend to have a thing for these retro supercars. I'm going to put the XJ220 above this. Whoops. Where is it? Come here, XJ220. Are you down there again? No. I've lost my Jag. Where's my Jag? There you are. I'm going to put it above the Venom F5. Might be a bit high for some people, but I don't know. I like it. And I think it's a bit underrated as well. Again, I'm just more attracted to cars that I think are underrated. This, Ferrari F12 Berlinetta. I prefer the TDF, but this is honestly my favourite front-engine Ferrari Grand Tourer. I mean, it's just, for me, brilliant in every way. I mean, it's just the F12 TDF is more brilliant. I'm going to put it... You know what? I'm going to put it above the CX-75. And below the... No, I'm going to put it above the Hennessy Venom, because, I don't know. I mean, just look at that shape. It's really quite gorgeous. Engine's great. It's really, really fast. Just a brilliant GT. This Ford F-150. The comment specified a Raptor police car, but I couldn't find a Raptor police car that wasn't in a game. So I've gone with this F-150 Raptor, not Raptor, just like the normal F-150 police car, because that appears to at least exist in concept form in real life. Not personally a fan of pickup trucks myself. I do like a police car though. Maybe a bit childish, but I do quite like them. Maybe it's all about Need for Speed I've been playing. But I mean, I'm just not the biggest fan of pickup trucks. I'm gonna put it here. I'm gonna put it below my dad's Land Rover. Not this, which this isn't his exact Land Rover, but it's the same model. But I've never been the biggest fan of pickup trucks. I prefer saloons and estates to pickups and SUVs. The Ford GT90. I love this car despite it not being pretty. Okay, now that's a bit of an understatement. The Ford GT90, especially from this angle, is absolutely hideous. But I so wish it would have made production. If they built a proper running example, it could very well have dethroned the McLaren F1 before the Veyron came along. They said it could do potentially 250, but conservative estimates would pin it around 230, which is still ridiculously impressive even today. But I don't know, it just never made it. And again, I have an affinity for these concept cars that never quite made production. And as a result, I'm going to put it in Dream Car, despite its unlikable appearance. I'm going to put it below the CX-75, because the CX-75 has the same sort of story about it, but I just prefer that a little bit more. And the CX-75 was potentially deserving for production even more than the GT90. Actually, interesting story about the CX-75. Ian Callum, the CX-75's original designer, actually has built another one, another fully road legal CX-75, and I don't know if it's been sold yet or not, or if he's keeping it for himself, but it's sort of a happy ending for it. I mean, it's close to a happy ending for those sorts of cars as we'll ever get, really. Next car, Hillman Imp. I don't know. Alright, with some modifications, this car can be quite a nifty little racer, but we're judging the cars as they are stock here. So, I mean, I prefer it to the Beetle, I don't prefer it to the Mini, so I'm probably just going to put it in between there. I mean, it was a very unreliable car as well, so I'm going to put it in not great, above the Peel Trident. I know my dad likes these, and I can see why, with modifications, and make it into a little racer, but stock, I don't know, I don't see it. Next car, Koenigsegg Jesko Attack. I'll probably never see one of these, and even if I do, it will most likely be the back of it moving away from me at a very high speed. Now it's an incredible, again, this car is quite lucky because there's been enough time for it to grow on me, because I actually wasn't the biggest fan of the Jesko Attack to begin with, and yeah, Dream Car is so full, but I mean, that's because you've given me a lot of good cars, and I appreciate that rather than rating rock boxes like the Nissan Juke, which isn't on the list. Please don't put it on the list. I'm going to put the Jesko Attack above the F5 and the Chiron. I just realised I ended up, without realising it, putting these three together, which is quite funny. I mean, it's not the Chiron Super Sport 300 Plus, but it's close enough. It's certainly closer to that than this Maserati Gran Turismo is. Next car, Lexus LFA. This is another overrated car. This time, however, it's only slightly overrated. I mean, it's not for me the best car in the world, but it is a brilliant car, especially that incredible V10 engine. And I am still going to put it in Dream Car. I'm going to put it with this Carrera GT. I'm going to put it ahead of the Carrera GT because they've both got V10s. Both cars I love. Carrera GT's maybe not quite overrated, but I mean, I'm saying that Lexus LFA is overrated and I'm putting it ahead of the Carrera GT. don't question my methods, or everything I say, just take it with a grain of salt, 'cause I'm probably going to completely contradict it about 5 seconds later. Next car, Lucid Air Sapphire. Certainly better than a Tesla, but it's still just an electric saloon car, and I dislike it greatly. Mostly just for being an electric saloon car. I don't know, I just feel like it has no soul. I'm going to put it at the bottom of average, because it just exists. And that's probably one of the most damning statements you can say about a car. Rimac Navara. Observe as I contradict myself. This is an electric car that I absolutely adore, because it's probably one of the few that I think almost has a soul. I know it's weird, you won't get this if you're not really into cars, but I don't know. It's impossible to explain. You can only really find it out for yourself. And again, I've never even seen one of these Navaras, but I don't know. From what I have seen, it seems more soulful than a lot of electric cars. Good looking car as well, and incredibly record breaking and far. And the speed, especially the acceleration, is otherworldly. You can do 170 in reverse, I think. And that's, again, completely useless in the real world, and not even in the real world, in almost any scenario, but it can do it. I'm going to put the Navara between the Shan and the Aventador. Yes, that is how you pronounce it. Then the Aventador. Ford Bronco. Didn't specify which Bronco, so I've just gone with the 21 Bronco. And again, it's an SUV. I don't like it. I prefer it to a lot of other SUVs because it is a proper off-roading SUV. Well, as much as a modern car can be. But it's still not my favourite. I'm going to put it in average, in between this Rover and this Pontiac. I think that's fair. This Ford Explorer it's in the same boat as these three. I like it a little bit more though. I think it looks a bit better, so I'm going to put it ahead of the Mahindra Jeep. But no, I just have a great distaste for all these road-going SUVs that have replaced saloons and estates and hatchbacks. I just dislike them for what they are and what they've done to the motoring landscape. I wouldn't even be the biggest fan of them, even if they didn't replace all my saloons and estates like this Skoda. Because everyone buys these cars. I suppose people don't buy the Explorer instead of the Skoda because the Skoda's not sold in the US, but they buy the Explorer instead of things like the Ford Fusion or the lower end or the base model Chargers. Actually, no, I think the base model Chargers sold quite well. So maybe a bad example, but instead of the Ford Taurus and the Ford Fusion and the Toyota Camry, those are better examples. Mercedes AMG 1. Incredible bit of engineering. Basically an F1 engine in a road-going car. Took a while to get working, but it does work most of the time. When Top Gear did it for a film, it broke down, so maybe not the most reliable thing in the world, but it's just an incredible feat of engineering, and I do like a Mercedes. I'm going to put it above I'm going to put it there, between the SSC and the GMA T50. Yes, I like that positioning. Bugatti Bolide. It's been unproven yet, but this could very well be the fastest bit of machinery ever made. I want it to be faster than an F1 car, even though I doubt that will be the case, but yes, I absolutely adore this thing, even though it's not been properly done yet. I'm going to put it above the Valkyrie, actually, because I think it'll be better than that. I think it'll be the Valkyrie, but more. That's not actually fair on the Valkyrie, though, is it? I'm still putting this ahead of it, but the Valkyrie is they both have the same sort of objective, but the Valkyrie has that brilliant Cosworth V12, which sort of separates it from the Bugatti's rumbly W16. This Porsche Cayenne Turbo GT. This is, I don't think it's, I prefer any performance estate or saloon over it, but this is arguably one of my favourite performance SUVs, relatively speaking. It's not my favourite. My favourite is the Subaru Forester STI. But this, yeah, It's certainly one of the better ones. I would the Turbo GT, because it's the closest an SUV has ever got to being a driver's car, and I kind of respect that. I'm gonna put it above the Ariel Nomad, because yeah, I mean it's certainly better than these, and might be a bit contradictory yet again, as I was ranting about these SUVs earlier, but it is what it is. I mean, it's certainly no better than, let's say, a Toyota Supra or a Rizvani Beast or a C6 Corvette or a C7 Corvette or any of these other cars I've put above it. Next car, got two Diablos here, the SV and the GTR. I absolutely adore the Diablo, and this might come across as a bit controversial. I love pop-up headlights in cars, but I actually prefer the later fixed headlight Diablos. I just think they look better. And I mean, just put the SV first. I'm gonna put that above the SLS, but the GTR, I'm absolutely smitten with it. But where do I put it though? This is hard now because I've put all these brilliant, incredible cars that I love up here. It's kind of hard to differentiate between them, but I'm going to put it above even the Reventon. I think the Diablo GTR, and actually I like the Diablo GT1 even more than the GTR. I like the GT1 more than the GTR, but I said the Reventon was my favourite, but I like these like track Diablos a bit more than even it now. So yeah. Let's see, Equus Bass 770. Couldn't find much information on this car other than it's like a Mustang wrist. Other than it's like a Mustang wrist mod sort of thing. I'm gonna put it like here. I'm gonna put it because I don't know all that much about it, so if it's a brilliant car, please enlighten me in the comments. But other than that, I just think I don't think it's as good looking as something like a old Shelby GT350, which I think is what it's trying to emulate. But I don't know, doesn't have that same wow factor for me, or the same heritage. Heritage. Like when I talk about cars like heritage, it sometimes makes me think, ugh. But other times I factor it in. It's weird. 2005 Ford GT. That's another car I love. Some people say it's ugly. I don't see it. Oh no, now copy. The state of this. No, we are not. No, it's not going in Soviet rubbish. I got quite. But yes, I'm gonna put it at the top of Sub-Zero. I think that's fair. I mean, from what I've seen, if I tried to get in one, the door would just close. If I close the door really hard, I'd probably chop this bit of my head off. So that probably rules out me ever driving one. I like it. It's just a brilliant car. V8's incredible. To celebrate multiple anniversaries, I think it's either to. Was it to celebrate Ford's 100th anniversary? Yeah, I think it was. Because actually, I want to bust a common misconception. People think that the headlights hide a 100 in them. But no, that's actually false. That the designer confirmed that was completely unintentional. It's quite a nice coincidence that it manages to have 100 in the headlights, and it was built to celebrate Ford's 100th anniversary. But no, the designer confirmed that it was a complete coincidence. So it's there, but it's not intentional. Next car, CCXR Edition. Right, the car I have up here is actually the CCXR. They're different cars. The easiest way to tell is a CXR Edition is full carbon fibre, including this back portion, and it is my favourite Koenigsegg of all time. So much so that I'm going to put it ahead of even the mighty McLaren F1. The F1 is potentially technically a better car, but I don't know, I just like the Koenigsegg more. I don't know. There's never really much logic to a lot of my choices, but here's another one of my choices, illogical or not. Aston Martin Vanquish. I'm always debating whether I prefer it to the. I don't want to mess with. I don't want to change the name, so it'll be rubbish. I'm always debating whether I prefer it to the DBS, but this I certainly adore more than the V8 Vantage, and I adore it more than the new Vanquish. I'm going to put it. I just can't decide on anything. Oh dear, this is unpleasant lag and kind of not helping with where I'm putting everything. There we go. Yeah, I'm just going to put it there because it's a gorgeous car. It's a brilliant Grand Tourer, like I said with the F12 where it's gone there. It's just gorgeous. Again, I can't stress how much I like the way it looks. And to be honest, it's one of the few cars I think looks good in black. There's not a There's not an aggressive looking estate. Or, I mean, I was going to say SUV, but I don't like SUVs anyway, so it's irrelevant. Ford GT, the 2017 one. I don't like this as much as some of the others. I mean, it's certainly an incredible piece of engineering, but I don't know. I understand why they put a V6 in it to lower weight and the like, but I don't know. I think an American supercar should have a V8, or, I mean, I'll let the Viper off with its V10, but I don't know. Maybe I'm too old-fashioned. An American car should have a V8. And, to be honest, no, I like it more than the Senna. I'll be honest. This is what I think. I think the back of the 2017 Ford GT looks a bit like one of the pigs from Angry Birds. I'm serious. I just think it's a brilliant looking car from the front. Turn it round to the back though, and it looks like, again, the pig from Angry Birds, which is not good, as you might have guessed. Ferrari 599 XX Evo. Oh, you've heard one of these. One of the greatest sounds planet Earth has to offer. And I mean, it's the same vein as the Maserati MC Extrema, but better, I must say. I'm going to put it ahead of the Nevera because, I don't know, I actually prefer the way the normal 599 and the GT... Sorry about that. And the GTO look compared to this. Not to say I don't like it, but I just prefer those cars more. I mean, it is quite an incredible machine. Really, really fast around a track as well. I can't remember whether it was faster than the FXX or not. I'm going to say it was. I mean, you'd assume so with all this aero and stuff, and the fact they came after the FXX. There's more technology and aerodynamic developments. Although, to be honest, the Valkyrie and the P1 are probably faster than it. Maybe not the P1, but certainly the Valkyrie is. The Valkyrie is probably one of the fastest cars here. The Valkyrie or the Bolide, whenever the Bolide actually will come out. I mean fastest round a track, as some comments got confused with sheer top speed, and that would go to like the Venom or the Esco Attack or the Chiron, if without the limiter. Depends. I mean, the Chiron Super Sport 300 Plus. What am I saying? The Chiron Super Sport 300 Plus has the unofficial record. Yeah, I think it has an official record for 300 plus because it didn't do it both ways. I think the actually official Guinness World Records top speed is still held by the Koenigsegg Gira RS of 278 miles an hour for a two-way run, which is what you need to do for the Guinness World Record, and that's quite amusing to me actually. This car, Ford Police Interceptor Utility. Don't like SUVs again. But I don't know. It being I kind of like it a lot more as a police car. It's weird. I actually prefer it to the F-151. I'm just going to put it above that. I think that's a fair placement for it. But yes, I think we've run out of cars now. Yes. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you've got anything to say about where I put the cars, agree with me, disagree with me, want to add some cars for yourself, or just want to give me more information or correct me if I've made a mistake, which I most likely have, yes, just put it as in a comment, and have a great day or night or evening or whatever, wherever you are, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.